Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this discussion about Discover Kindergarten, the new component coming to Discover Finding Faith in Life. I'm TJ. I'm hosting this conversation with some members of our content team. If you guys be able to introduce yourselves, that would be awesome.
Excellent. My name is Stephen E. Lair. I'm the Director of Content Development and have been working at St. Mary's Press for about 14 years now. So really excited to talk about the kindergarten program.
I'm Joanna Daly, and if Stephen has been here 14 years, maybe I've been here 15 years. So I'm excited about kindergarten too.
And my name is Ivy Wick, and I have worked for St. Mary's Press for almost 9 years. And this project is new and something a little different for me, and I'm super excited about working on kindergarten.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So to start out, Discover Kindergarten is a bit different from the rest of Discover. Could you guys kind of dive into what makes the kindergarten program so much different from grades 1 through 5?
Well, from an editor's point of view, the lessons are shorter and they're more active, and they have a little more singing and dancing in them. So we're trying to make a kindergarten program that's attractive to both the catechists to teach and the children to learn.
And we know that obviously there's learning differences at all of the different ages and all of the different grade levels, but kindergarten is a little unique. We know that reading skills are just beginning at this age level, motor skills are being developed. And we know that we're going to use the Bible in a very different way in grades 1 through 5. We get right into scripture using the Catholic Children's Bible, and that's the core text. In kindergarten, we're taking the stories, paraphrasing them so that students can understand them in their own words, in their own language, and be read to. So they get their own little starter kit, essentially. So they get Bible stories at their levels and on worksheets that are made just for them.
And I would say that there are some things about kindergarten that are very similar to the rest of Discover, that the structure is the same. So people who have been catechists at different grade levels will recognize that very similar format and the activities, but certainly geared much more developmentally appropriate for kindergarten age children.
And the whole aim of the program is for the children to get to know Jesus. They might have heard the name Jesus, they might have seen pictures of Jesus, but who is Jesus? And so we start out with Mary accepting to give birth to Jesus, and then we have Jesus's birth. So we have a little bit of Christmas in the beginning of the year, which I think would be fun. And then we follow the life of Jesus all through until his resurrection and his sending of the Holy Spirit. And then we have feast day lessons as well. So it follows the church year, but it follows the life of Jesus. So by the end of the year, they'll have a better idea going into the rest of their grade levels who Jesus is and what Jesus taught, and be a little more familiar with the life of Jesus.
Awesome. It sounds like these lessons are jam-packed with stuff. So would you guys kind of want to go into what components make up a lesson or a chapter in Discover Kindergarten?
Oh, sure. So there's a lesson overview at the beginning of the catechist guides, kind of gives the catechist what the name of the chapter is, what are the catechism references, if there's a catechism pillar, if we're going to focus on prayer or celebration. And then there's a little background reflection for the catechist to help prepare them as they get ready to teach the lesson. And then there are engage prompts, so some questions to help get the children interested or excited before they actually begin to explore the Bible story. And then I'm going to turn it over to Joanna or Stephen to talk a little bit about the next part of the Catechist Guide, next part of the daily lesson.
So every child will have what we're calling the Bible story booklet. In most situations, this will likely sit on the shelf in the classroom, and the catechist will use the individual sheets for the chapters as they go on. So it's essentially a booklet made up of perforated pages. There's one page, two sides for every single chapter in the program. And on one side is the Bible story itself. It's a beautifully visual depiction of the Bible story. It has the text of the Bible story on there. For catechists and for parents, and certainly for children who can read. But what's really attractive is it brings in beautiful artwork that's age appropriate for the children, and so they can learn visually what the story is going to be about. On the back side of that is always an activity, a fun on the page activity that involves circling, drawing, coloring, all sorts of fun, creative ways to really reinforce some of the main concepts in the lesson. So again, there's one page of those for every single lesson that's in this program. There are 20 core chapters, and then as Joanna mentioned, there are 8 liturgical season lessons that can be woven into the school year as the lessons approach. So this little unique piece is the way that children will be exposed to the Bible and the Bible stories at their own level.
That's where the diving in comes. When we take the child through this child's page, this Bible story page, and talk about the pictures, and then we get the child interested in the story, then we read the story to the child. And the catechist doesn't have to lean over and read from the child's book. She or he has his or her own page in the Catechist Guide that has the story in it, the Bible story in it. And then there's suggestions for how to present the Bible story through questions. And then maybe there's a song that the children sing based on a familiar tune the catechist might know. And then we go into an activity that reinforces this Bible story. And then I think there's a closing prayer after that, unless I've missed a piece. But we're trying to enliven the Bible story through activity, prayer, song, things children like.
And there's also an opening prayer, closing prayer, but lesson goals. So those goals are stated up at the top.
Good.
Right? And then at the end, they review those lesson goals to be sure that throughout the core teaching that they've covered all of those points. And then the activities that the catechist can choose from, there's always 3 for every chapter. And whatever activities they choose, we want to make sure that those activities are reflective of the lesson goals, the Bible story, parts of the core teaching to reinforce those goals.
So people who are familiar with the Discover program in grades 1 through 5, they're going to be familiar with this structure. So we've talked about it here, but in the Catechist Guide, they'll see that there's a Get Ready section, there's a Dive In section, there's a Discover section, and a Go section. So every lesson is really divided into these 4 movements. And that's for ease of the catechist, and there are time frames for each of those, so the catechist knows approximately how long each of those take. In our parish program, we have programmed enough content to cover 60 minutes. We understand that not everybody's parish program is going to be 60 minutes long. So obviously there are ways to pull activities or move activities into the home. There's a lot of ideas, a lot of ways that the lessons can be cut to fit the perfect timing for you. So let me go through the movements really quickly, and we've already talked about some of those here. But the Get Ready is obviously the opening prayer, and then just a little bit of a teaser. What we're trying to do is to tie a little bit into the theme of the chapter, of the lesson, but to do so in a way that just is provocative of the children's experience already. So it could be as simple as just a quick question for them that sort of gets them thinking about the topic at hand. Of course, not revealing yet what the Bible story is or not knowing what the theme is. But it starts to get them thinking, and then we create a little interest going, well, let's see, let's find out, how does this all tie into what we're going to learn today? So that's really the get ready. We're just getting ready to hear the Bible story and to prepare ourselves for those goals that Ivy mentioned that will be covered in the lesson. Then we dive in. That's getting into the scripture itself. So that's taking that child's page, again, the Bible story side of the child's page, having them process, look at the images, see if they can predict what the story might be about, what's happening in those images. And then we read the Bible story itself. That's the dive in. That's the sort of the meat of where we get the Bible story told and understood. Then we move into the discover phase. And the discover movement is really about, okay, now we've heard the Bible story. Now, what does this mean for us today? What do we take away from this? And so we have a lot of creative ways to do that, questions certainly, but also some creative ideas for bringing out the real core lessons of that Bible story that we want the children to be left with. And then we have the final movement, which is the go movement. And that's, as Ivy said, that's recalling the main lesson goals, making sure that we've re-emphasized those again. And then we say a final prayer and we go. So again, as Ivy mentioned, or as was mentioned, that discover part, that sort of core part where we're learning about the Bible story, we have a lot of activities for catechists to choose from that will work specifically with the children in their classroom, as well as the backside of that children's page. So that's an activity as well. So we have lots of ideas, ways to make these lessons really come to life and not just be a reading exercise or just a question and answer exercise, but something that's really active and really fun.
And when the children go, they take with them their child's page with their activity sheet on the back. And the activity sheet can be done in the classroom, or maybe if the teacher just prefers that they do it at home, and they can take it home with them and they can do it with their parents. So that's sort of flexible. And the family page is also attached, could be attached to this child's page. So they have a little something to share with their parents about their classroom experience. And the family page has its own set of components, which are, let me see, the Understand It, which is based on the Understand It of the scripture story that's from the Catholic Children's Bible. It's a little meditation or explanation of the scripture. It was written for older children, but adults can enjoy it and learn from it. And they can choose to share some of it with their child if they wish, but it's really an educational tool that we're happy to repeat in the family page. Then there's a section called Your Growing Child, which is kind of a reflection on a kindergarten child in his or her developmental stage and what that might mean, jumping off from something in the Bible story or something in the lesson. So it's another educational tool that the parents can link the lesson and their child in their child's stage of development. And then there's family suggestions for how to integrate the core of the lesson into their family life in a simple way. And then there's a little prayer at the end for the entire family to say. So it's a wonderful way to link the classroom and the catechist with the family and their family life.
And something I really love about this whole program is specifically for kindergarten, this is a specific kindergarten program. And we have heard from so many catechists that what they're used to doing is taking something that's not necessarily made for kindergarten and kind of breaking it down and putting a lot of effort into making a lesson out of it that their kindergartners can understand. So something I think catechists are really going to love, and I would love if you could go deeper into it, is that we provide resources for the catechists in their lessons to make them meaningful, so that maybe catechists don't have to spend so much time and effort trying to make a lesson out of disparate materials, but instead can come in and really be in the classroom. So would you guys be able to kind of go into what we provide for the catechists to make these lessons so meaningful for their kids?
Well, I just think that to start, uh, I taught high school for a long time before I came to work for St. Mary's Press. I have 5 children, and I also volunteered as a catechist at my parish. So I try to take all of my different experiences when working on this project and think to myself, what tools would I like if I was the catechist, if I was the parent who was volunteering or assisting, or if somebody asked me to teach, a catechism or a Sunday school class before or after Mass, what would I like? And so we try to really make sure that they don't have to do a lot to prepare beyond what we've given them. We try to give them as many resources as possible. So there are prayers provided for them. We give them a materials needed list. So the components that Stephen mentioned, so the catechist guide that has, all of, if there's any additional handouts, any explanation of the lesson, all of that content, the Divein, the core teaching, the lesson goals, all of those things are included for the catechist. The child's booklet that has those perforated tear-out pages for them, the family page, but those activities, so they're not trying to have to search or figure out the night before or spend so much time the week before preparing. It's all right there for them to help them connect to the Bible story, connect to the lesson goals, and coming up with those activities that include active movement, crafts, songs, chants, anything that makes them feel that they are part of their faith community. So asking maybe the priest or deacon to come into the class to talk, or reinforcing by having them retell the story. So all of those ideas, all of those things we provide for the catechist. And I feel like whenever I get to the end of the lesson and I review, I think to myself, would I feel comfortable? Would I feel prepared? And that's always kind of my barometer for, is this a good and complete package for them?
Yeah, our catechist guides are really designed for any level of catechist. So if somebody is walking into the classroom for the very first time, they have all of the steps laid out for them, everything that they're going to need. In fact, we give them sometimes words to say, and we give them language to use, especially around maybe some of the trickier kinds of topics with children, so that they don't even have to guess at how they might put this to kindergarten children. So we give them all of those steps. If somebody's super advanced and they've been teaching kindergarten for 5 years or 10 years, and they come in and look at our lessons, they're going to see the same kind of steps and the same kind of assists. Obviously, they can make some on-the-spot decisions as to what works best with the children in front of them, but all of those options are laid out. So really, we're very systematic and step by step. Here's what you would do first, here's what you would do next, here's what you might say about this, here's a question you might ask. Here, as Ivy said, here are the songs, here are the chants, here are the activities, here's everything you can need for your toolbox as you approach the classroom with kindergarten children. So we're really proud of that aspect, that it's really assistive, and it doesn't require people, as you said, TJ, to go and sort of search for bits and pieces, or to take a first grade program and try to make it friendly to kindergartners. We know that that's a very different thing. So we're excited to provide, that assistance for catechists who are working at this age level.
We know that kindergartners have a very short attention span, even compared to first grade. So that's why we provide several kinds of activities. We really want to have a variety, so that the catechist can say, oh, let's sing the song now, and then we'll sit down again and finish talking about the picture. Whatever is in there is for their use, and they can switch it around, and it will just be whatever is best for that class in the moment. And that's why we try to have a lot of different activities, and we have a chart where we keep track of what kind of activities are in what chapters, so that we don't duplicate too much, because we really want to make sure that those activities and those songs are perfect for that lesson, and don't duplicate other lessons, so that things are fresh every chapter.
And in addition to that, wanting to be fresh and not repeating, balancing that out is the format is always the same. So the catechist always knows what's going to happen. And then week after week, the children know what's going to happen, because they really thrive in that environment where, there's a routine and a plan, and they'll begin to recognize, where is my page that I do my activity on? Oh, we're going to do our prayer now. And it's time for a fun activity. So even though it's always fresh and there are new ideas and new activities and there's a lot of variety, there should be a comfort in kind of the structure and routine of how the lessons are structured.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things I think is maybe the most underrated about us adding kindergarten in, is that this means that from the start of faith formation up through grade 5, the lesson structure stays relatively the same. So every time they go into their lesson, they know what they're expecting. They're going to learn something new, but they have that structure all the way through grade 5, and I think that's just excellent. So to kind of close it out, what do you guys hope this brings about for kindergartners? This took a lot of work to make a kindergarten portion. So what do you hope that the kindergartners, these little 5-year-olds, what do you hope they get out of it?
I mean, I hope that they love Jesus, and that they feel excited about church, and that they feel welcomed and happy, and that they want to attend, that they want to go, that it's something that they look forward to, and that they feel like they have something to contribute. It should just all around be a very positive experience for them, instead of that kind of, I don't like this, it is boring, we do the same thing all the time, which are the things I used to hear from my own kids when I would say, it's time to go. We want for them to be excited and feel good and happy about their faith, and sharing that with their families.
I don't think I could say it any better. I mean, I think really sparking joy while being introduced to, the basics, some really introductory level about our faith, I think is really important. And so we found it, as we're creating it, we're having fun. We're putting ourselves in that situation, in that classroom, in our minds as we're developing these lessons. And we just we keep saying to each other, this is just a really fun project to work on. So we hope that translates. We think it will, and provide these environments that are really full of life as children are learning about their faith at this young level.
And I really think that parents will appreciate this program, because when they see their child happy and excited, and they bring home these neat little worksheets and are able to talk about the Bible story, I think the parents will be just glad that they're sending their child to this kind of a program, and that they are excited about it, and they don't have to sort of drag, like I said, drag their child in. But the parents will be educated as well. You cannot read these chapters without learning something or being touched in the heart by something that is being read in the Bible, or taught by the catechist, or even in the activities. I just say, oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this with kids. It just seems like it would be so much fun and so satisfying to see them participating in knowing Jesus in this really age appropriate way.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for joining for this call. It's just so great to hear from the minds of those who are behind projects like this. We're all really excited for Discover to have kindergarten and to continue to grow the Discover program as a whole. If you're interested in learning more about Discover, you want to give it a try, you can head to our website, www.smp.org, to get all the info about the new kindergarten edition, and then to request a sample of the whole Discover program to try it out in your own classroom. So from all of us here at St. Mary's Press on the content team, we're glad you were able to join us today. Thank you.